Welcome to Visual Recreation, the essential video guide to winning FML each and every week. I'm your local Prince Charming, Drew.
And I'm Joey, the host with the most, and this week we're talking about two movies which we have loaded up in the chamber, so let's jump right into the new movies.
That's right, just as my colleague Joey just mentioned, that there are two new wide releases this weekend, and the first one we're going to be looking at is Maleficent, Mistress of Darkness.
That's right, Angelina Jolie is back to reprise her role as Maleficent, and it looks like she's going to wage war or bring some evil upon the kingdom.
That's right, I watched that trailer. It looks exactly like that. Now, this movie stars Angelina Jolie, Elle Fanning, and Michelle Pfeiffer, just to name a few, and this was directed by Joachim Roning, who directed Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, the one that was critically and audiensely panned.
Yeah.
Audiensely? Is that a word?
Oh no, it didn't do so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, now the next movie up is Zombieland 2 Double Tap. Now, the zombie killing quartet is back after 10 years, and this time there's new zombies, there's new survivors, and the pack's also dealing with each other's growing pains, so there's that.
That's right, I love that 80s sitcom. Now, this movie stars Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg, Emma Stone, and Abigail Breslin, who are all reprising their roles from 10 years ago in the first Zombieland.
That's right. Now, some of the new survivors added to the roster are Rosario Dawson, Zoe Deutsch, and Luke Wilson, and Thomas Middleditch.
That's right. This is loaded up, and also this was written and directed by Ruben Fleischer and Rhett Reese, both of whom worked on the first Zombieland. So you got everybody from the first one that everybody knows and loves, plus more. What else would you want from a movie? But before you answer, Joey, I could use a snack. Twinkies don't have a crunch, but we do.
Now, according to Box Office Mojo, Maleficent 2 is premiering in an estimated 3,700 theaters, and Pro Box Office has its long-range forecast at around $40 million, which is the same from last week. Now, Probo also has its opening weekend range anywhere from 40 to 55 million.
Super helpful.
Yeah, well, Maleficent 2 is also PG.
For pretty great. Now, when looking at comps, we first looked at Alice Through the Looking Glass, which premiered in 2016 in over 3,700 theaters to $26.8 million. Now, this is a Disney sequel rated PG, coming off of a monster first movie, which was Alice in Wonderland, which premiered in 2010 in over 3,900 theaters, making $116 million.
That's a lot.
That was a huge movie. Fast forward 6 years later, and it was a huge, steep drop from 116 opening weekend to $26.8 million.
Yes, that's right. And the next comp we took a look at is Maleficent, of course, which premiered in 2014 in over 3,900 theaters, and it made $69 million opening weekend. Now, that was late May, early June release, so that could have affected its sales right there.
That is true. Now let's get on with Zombieland 2 Double Tap. Now, according to Box Office Mojo, Zombieland 2 is premiering in an estimated 3,400 theaters. Its Pro Box Office has its long-range forecast around $30 million, which is the same from last week and the week before, which is a good sign. Probo also has its opening weekend range of around $24 to $34 million, and of course, it's rated R.
Yes, that's right. Now, for some comps, of course, we looked at Zombieland, the first one, which premiered early October of 2009, premiered in 3,000 theaters and only made $24.7 million. Now, this grew an audience after its theatrical release, and the original cast is all returning in this movie, so it's going to be interesting to see how well it's going to hold up or do after 10 years, 10 years later. So, it's a unique movie. It was hard to comp. There have been little rated R horror comedy movies with an A-list cast like this movie that's been released recently, so it's a little challenging for comps.
That's right. Now let's get into our own thoughts on the movie radar or MODAR. What scares me about Maleficent 2 is how much it's mirroring Alice Through the Looking Glass. And to me, Alice in Wonderland is a beloved Disney story, and it came to life, and people drove in droves to go see that movie. $160 million is nothing to scoff at.
Yeah.
And then 6 years later, Through the Looking Glass doesn't do anything close to it. Then you have Maleficent 1 making $69 million, over $69 million, which to me is astronomical. 5 years later, you get the second one, and it kind of looks pretty generic to me. I think this one could hit mid-30s, maybe even low 30s. But on the flip side, Zombieland 2, I think, has everything going for it. It had the original cast. It has a cult following. It's beloved, especially in October, especially with the Halloween season. I think this one's gonna make over 30 and even push past, I think it could push past Maleficent to get the #1 spot in the box office this weekend. I think it could make mid-30s and definitely compete for the top spot, but I think it could also push past that Maleficent to get the top spot. But what do you think about it, Joey?
Yeah, no, I agree with some of your points completely.
And the video there!
But I mean, looking at Maleficent 2, the first Maleficent, I think that should have been the complete story right there. I don't know why there's a need for a Maleficent 2. Zombieland 2, star-studded cast, great first film. It's very popular, tons of fans. It's got the huge audience. It's got the hype and excitement around it. I think it can see the higher end, the upside of its long-range forecast.
Definitely, definitely. Now that we got those out of the way, let's go on to our FML shoutouts.
We're going to give you some more shout-outs from The Real Deal. We're still currently working on the layout and the direction that we want to take the actual page that you guys will be able to view or see your reviews with images and cool things like that. So we're still working on that, but we want to shout you guys out even more since you took the time to review these movies. So we're going to read some to you now.
That's right, and the first one we're going to be looking at is Nux's review of Detective Pikachu.
Okay.
He gives it a 4 out of 10. Not a great one. That's 40%. That's an F in my book. Detective Pikachu, this is what he says. Detective Pikachu does not cash in on his promise to provide an inspiring Pokemon story. The fantastic artwork is marred by the poor storytelling and clunky dialogue, and he would not recommend this movie.
Wow.
You know what? I kind of agree with that. I thought it was majorly kind of disappointing.
All right, well,
to be honest.
Next up, we have Fourth Wall, who reviewed the movie yesterday. They gave it a 5, so let's see what Fourth Wall had to say. Fourth Wall says, it's pretty boring, not entirely funny, not entirely romantic movie that reminds you again that the Beatles have a lot of great songs.
The last review we're going to be reading for this episode is The Satellite of Love.
Ooh.
And they write for Captain Marvel's review, and they give it an 8 out of 10. A fun origin story with a sly sense of humor and enjoyable action sequences. Remember, it's just an MCU movie, not a political movement, and they would recommend it. Too bad it didn't have any Beatles songs in it.
It's a Marvel movie.
MCU.
Yeah, they're usually pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
For the most part. But that's all we got for you this week. Thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, giving your feedback, everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. And remember, sometimes
you gotta risk it to get that Twinkie. We didn't open these.
We need to.